Good morning, Columbia County. Welcome to Columbia County Connect. This Friday morning, I believe we're at December the 11th. We hope a great show for you today. Got a lot of people here. We got the lady that loves her job best and lives her job most of anybody in Columbia County, Ms. Pam Tucker.
Good morning.
Be talking to her a great deal in a few minutes. And we got a carryover from last week. Jeremy Wellen, he's with the fire department. Jeremy, we had a good talk with you and the chief last week.
Yes, sir.
And we talked about all these things that could be hazardous during Christmas and holidays. And we left out one that just was probably the number one. And we want to come back and retread that a little bit. Tell us what we should have talked about last week.
Well, cooking fires.
Cooking fires.
Fires in the kitchen.
Everybody cooks on the holidays.
Everybody does on the holidays and throughout the year. And cooking fires originate in the kitchen, are the number one cause of home structure fires in the country. And fires that start actually during cooking are 77% nationally of all structure fires, and that includes
Is that year
fires
round
that
or just
have injuries.
holiday?
That's actually year round.
Mm-hmm.
In our experience, it gets a little worse during the winter holidays. More people home, more people in town, and so there's more cooking going on, and more likely to have unattended cooking because they're going back and spending time with family and so forth. And so
You cook more on holidays or not? Not a lot. Jeremy, the steps to take, everybody hears that you can't put out a grease fire with water.
correct.
Doesn't everybody need a 10-pound ABC extinguisher somewhere close, or is that what you recommend?
Absolutely, in the kitchen to be able to put that out. The quickest way to get
In
an
the
injury
pantry
is
or the closet or somewhere close?
absolutely somewhere in the kitchen, under the sink cabinets, something like that. And then also when buying appliances or electronics, you should look for the Underwriters Laboratories
UL label.
certification, and that just ensures that the product that you're getting has been through that inspection, meets American standards for safety, and this means you got a much safer product. And that's not only electronics, but also your extension cords, because that's used so much more in the holidays.
We need for the folks to remember not to leave cooking unattended, particularly anything you're doing with a deep fryer or a pressure cooker or anything of that sort. Tell us the story about the lady that got confused about what to put the fire out with.
We do teach all throughout
I
the
love
year.
this.
Over about 10,000 children a year we teach in the schools and at different events, and we always tell them, everybody knows, don't put water on a grease fire. And so in my first year of employment 21 years ago, I went to a kitchen fire. When I walked in, the entire kitchen was just covered with white stuff dripping off the ceiling and the walls. I'm like, ma'am, what happened? And she said, well, I've always been told, don't put water on a grease fire. So I used milk. It just exploded and went everywhere in the kitchen, the cabinets, and the floor, and the ceiling. I didn't know what to say to her.
Years ago, Jeremy, when my father-in-law was alive and spent some time with us, he always got up real early in the morning. He had to make coffee, and the good old standard percolator coffee pots. Put in the water, put in the coffee, put the top on, plug it in, bubble, bubble, bubble. He did everything except put the top on. There was coffee in the cabinets. It was splashed everywhere. It was sitting right where it went in the crack between the cabinet door and the cabinet. Everywhere. Took half the morning to clean it up. But it didn't catch fire, so that was a good thing. Remember that, folks. Number one hazard, whether it's holidays or not, cooking fires.
Yes,
Jeremy,
sir.
thank you again for coming by.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
I apologize for us leaving that off last week. We probably should have covered that.
No problem.
We're going to do a little musical chairs here now, and Jeremy's going to get back to his job at the station. We're going to welcome our new District 3 Commissioner, Gary Richardson. Gary,
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
welcome to Columbia County Connect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
Good to see
appreciate
you.
it.
You know Ms. Pam Tucker?
I do.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Pam. How are you this
I'm
morning?
fine, thank you.
We got a couple of pictures here, I think, to show Gary was recently sworn in last Tuesday morning. We got one there with him taking the oath of office, and then with Judge Pageant signing his papers to make it official. And Gary didn't get much of a break. He went immediately back to the commission chair there for the start of 5 committees. What's your impression of your first day on the job?
It was pretty hectic that first day. The excitement of getting sworn in and the family being there and friends, and then as soon as that was over, going in and having the December meeting where we are getting all the committee stuff together for the whole month. It was pretty hectic, but very enjoyable.
A little overwhelming?
Oh, it was. But the staff had our books together in perfect order, and it was pretty easy to follow through, but a lot to learn. So we're excited about the challenge.
People think that government is pretty well cut and dried, and there's not that many issues, but I think particularly with Commissioner Duncan being new in January, you coming on board, you learn right quick that that's not the case, is it?
That's exactly right. There's a lot, and but everybody's been so helpful to try and bring me up to speed, and it's going to take a while, but with everybody, any questions that we're asking or whatever, we're getting answers, and so we're just looking forward to working and representing District 3.
Got a lot of good people that work behind the scenes that you never hear about.
Yes, sir.
That's important to the function of government. Gary attended an event last night that was the 225th anniversary of Columbia County. 225 years ago, exactly to the date of December the 10th, Columbia County was formed from a part of Richmond County, some other areas. I believe I got a couple of pictures there. The event going on. I can't really tell what it is, but I remember Judge Blanchard making a speech. Later on, he unveiled the plaque in honor of Judge Pat Hardaway in the lobby of the Appling Courthouse. Commissioner Morris did a real good job of introducing guests and talking a little bit about the county. Rob Norton and the Columbia County Historical Society put this on, did a really good job. I enjoyed that last night.
I did. It was very, very good to hear the history of the county, and I was wondering, Mr. Chairman.
No, I was not back there when it was founded.
Okay. Is the courthouse open so citizens can go out from time to time and maybe tour through? It's very interesting, and I think it would be enjoyable for people to maybe take their families out on an afternoon visit or something like that.
There is always, the clerk of court's office is manned full time there. As you walk in the front door, it's on the left. And then the court system, the judicial system, has to meet there once a year, a whole court there once a year, because it's the county seat.
Right.
And you have to hold Superior Court in the county seat at least once a year. And then Commissioner Morris has the commission meeting there, or the committee meeting there, once a quarter.
Okay.
So you do have access to it. There are other events, I think, Pam, that's scheduled for that room up there and things with different groups from time to time that they utilize it. But it is open, it is the county seat, and there is a person there that mans that particular office on the normal working day.
So citizens could go in and look around, and some of the plaques and memorial plaques would be very interesting, I think, for people to go out and visit.
And we spent, I know a fair amount, how many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 4 or 5.
Doing restoration of that building to make it more accessible. We put in some thermal windows, replaced the windows with the same style, but to make it a little more energy efficient. I think we dressed up the restrooms, did a good many cosmetic things to assure that the building is maintained and stays in place. So it is usable, very historic location there in Appling, and it is good for civic events or civic clubs that might want to, meet somewhere a little bit different. Well, Pam, we're going to get to you in your emergency management division. How long you been with the county?
Almost 17 years.
And you were here when I got here, and that was a good assurance to see somebody that had been successful in Richmond County, came over to Columbia County. Tell us what your division does. What's your main function?
Well, in the Emergency Services Division, of course, Emergency Management Agency, the 311 Customer Service, Risk Management, Public Transit. I manage the ambulance service contract for the county. I do administrative coordination for the DFACS and Health Department. And then we manage about 700 citizen volunteers who have specialized skills in different areas for different functions.
Is that all?
I'm a member of many boards in the community. I sit on many boards. I chair some boards, and it's a busy job, but I love it, as you said.
And you have relationships with most other agencies in the area that look after emergency response and management operations.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And also the weather situation.
Yes, last week we actually hosted a collaboration meeting with all of our broadcast media meteorologists from all of our local TV stations, and Steve Smith from WGAC, who does their weather. We had Savannah Riverside's meteorologist here, and the Columbia Weather Service, and we all had a conversation about what's coming up with this El Nino and how we can work together best to get information out to the public as, what to expect. Which right now we're looking at what they predicted, some fair weather for the first part of the winter, and then
weather. Is it wetter weather also?
Wetter, colder toward the second half, but then also we may look at some potential for severe weather with even the possibility of tornadoes. And this El Nino is going to just probably create some weather concerns for us this year. 1973, when we had 14 inches of snow, was an El Nino year. So that doesn't mean that's going to happen. I mean, maybe nothing will happen. We can pray, but certainly the potential is going to be there with the El Nino.
Now, this particular weather phenomenon starts out in the Pacific Ocean west of California.
Right, the
and
warming
comes
of the
across
ocean. And
the
comes
country.
across, yes. And the jet stream will, this will be one of those years when it dips way low into the south. So if the conditions are just right, we could see ice, snow, at least some of it this year. I think it's probably likely.
I'd like to see a good dry snow.
Yeah, we can handle that. After an inch of ice, a little bit of snow does not scare us.
That's
Ice
always
is the
very
problem.
good for the car wash business too, Mr. Chairman.
You see these cars come by, particularly on the interstate, it's almost white.
Right.
Because they come down from up north and they've been salt on the roads and it's splashed, and they
can
need to
tell.
stop in to sparkle and get a cleanup job.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pam, tell me about the volunteer group. You've got the Community Emergency Response Team. They go to class a long time, don't
Right. CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, those are citizens that sign up. We started this in 2004, actually. So you've been through many graduations that we do at the commission meetings. We're about to have Group 25 go through training, and that class is already full. I could slip a couple more in if anybody listening is interested and wants to email or call and get on the list. But that is one of our largest volunteer groups, and they are trained in special skills: medical, rescue, disaster psychology, fire, hazmat, radio communications, just the whole gamut. We organize them into teams, and if you look at a map where all these people are across the county, the dots are all over the map. Some of our subdivisions have up to 15 people that can come together after a disaster and immediately perform life-saving skills. Because our fire and EMS and law enforcement are going to be tied up when major situations happen. So it's a wonderful program. It's fully funded by Homeland Security. We get all the equipment we give the students. All of our training materials are paid for by grants.
And you're a pretty tough taskmaster. They can't miss any classes in this and get certified.
Yeah, because every night's a different topic. So if you miss
how
the
many
medical,
overall nights is it?
it's 7 nights. We do it on Tuesday night for 3 hours for 7
7 weeks.
consecutive, and then we go through we put together a scenario so they can test those skills and demonstrate them to us that they know how to do them, and then we do a little exam, and then we graduate at a commission meeting and give them all the tools that they need. We teach them how to shut off utilities. If gas is leaking after a disaster, they need the tools to do it and know how to do it, because a lot of people don't. So we teach them even that. I mean, it's just wonderful training.
I don't know, Gary, could you make 7 nights in a row for 3 hours.
That's a pretty big commitment.
That is a pretty big
And we've
commitment.
had 508 people do that with 30 more on the list about to do it again. That's how committed our citizens are to helping this community.
508.
hmm
That's
And
a
then we
great
have
program.
other teams. We have disaster assessment teams who we train, specialize, and give equipment also that immediately go out after a disaster to tell us what's damaged, how much damage, what type of damage do we have, so we know if we need to get a state declaration or even we're going to end up needing a federal declaration. We do volunteer assistant reception center training. We have people who are set up to go to another location so that people who spontaneously volunteer, they show up after a disaster and want to help. Well, we can't just put them out there not knowing their skills. And so we put them through several stations as we set up these volunteer reception centers. And then in the end, we give them armbands. So if Tim Holloway says, hey, VRC,
Now, Tim is the
I
head
need
of
a
Roads and Bridges.
manager. I need 2 people with chainsaws today, just for today. Then we'll armband them, send them to where he wants them, and put them to work. And they've been vetted. We know that they're sober. We know that they're trained and that they know how to use the equipment without hurting themselves. So it's a really, really good volunteer program.
Pam, the general public may not know of what we call the war room, but your mobile operation, not your mobile operation, but your operations center, and then you have a mobile operations center.
Right.
Tell us a little bit what happens there. I know I've been there on 2 or 3 occasions with snow and ice several years ago, the ice storm of a couple of years ago. Tell us about that area and what's involved in it.
Right. The Emergency Operations Center is set up so that all the heads of all the agencies that would be involved in the disaster, and that doesn't include just county, that includes Red Cross, Golden Harvest, even NSA is part of this team, our utilities.
In one room.
Collectively, we have workstations. We even have kits that we can give each one so that if they come on the fly and don't have materials, pens, paper, maps, ERGs, whatever they may need, we have electrical capabilities on each workstation for them to plug in their equipment. We have a charger so that people can charge their cell phones if they don't have their charger with them and they have to come. We have food, we have showers, we have salt to make sure the sidewalks aren't slippery and ice. It's just a fully self-contained center so that our leaders can manage the disaster that's going on in the community, see everything globally from that one room, and make good decisions on the behalf of the citizens.
Now on the wall, you've got a lot of flat screens
Right,
that you pipe into the weather service,
right,
the traffic control.
right.
What else we do? The
We
sheriff's
do-
departments.
We do local media, national
Yeah.
media, and we're looking right now at a resource management software, potentially that we'll, be looking at in the new budget, which will actually, when you walk in as chairman or Scott as administrator and looks up there, they can see where all of our resources are. Fire trucks, roads and bridges vehicles, water utility, fueling vehicles from fleet that are fueling vehicles.
That was a big issue
It
in the ice
was.
storm.
And, we've done a lot of remediation. One of the questions one of our citizens had was, what have we done since the ice storm? And, there's been so many things. We had a list of like 6 pages of things. And some of those were little things, but they're details. And all your details really add up. But getting everybody onto this 800 communication system, because we
Yeah.
lost that, is huge. We have 2 more snow plows with roads and bridges, so now we have 3. We have a revamped the generator program, and we, so
We've
that all
added
our,
some generators too.
we were eligible for a grant because we had all of our things together for the ice storm for the reimbursement. We're eligible to apply for grants, so we've got 3 that are about to be awarded for fire stations and the sheriff's substation.
I got a chair over there, Gary.
All right.
So he does, and you do as well.
And you can have one over there too.
We have them for all the commissioners, the administrator. We're set up to accommodate all of the leaders because, in history, if you had people separate at their different locations and you have different leaders from departments making decisions, well, we need to evacuate or we need to do this, it sometimes doesn't go so well. If collectively everybody talks about it and looks at the big picture, you can make really good decisions quickly that will save lives.
And you advise people like the Board of Education whether the classes could go on or whether the roads are not suitable or those kind of
Right.
things.
I collaborate with Dr. Caraway or whoever the superintendent is at the time, and I always have through the years had a very good relationship with talking out, because sometimes schools would start to close and then we would realize we don't need to. So it's good decisions both ways, when you need to and when you don't need to.
But we also are quick to add when something should happen and not get in the position that Atlanta did, that had everybody at work and then tried to evacuate too late
Right.
and gridlock the entire city.
Right. Well, one thing we do that didn't happen in Atlanta is that I usually know 2 days in advance that the potential's there. So we go ahead and start letting people know and going ahead and giving them information that we get from the Weather Service and our other broadcast relationships we have. Communication is huge with me. I believe in letting people know what's going on, and the community likes that. Then they don't have to call and ask or wonder or be scared,
And you mentioned the 800 megahertz radio system.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that worked during that last ice storm. Wasn't it?
Right.
No
We
cell
had
phone,
everything
no
else out
landlines.
at one time, yeah. 85% of our population without power, so we had our shelter pre-positioned. We went ahead and put all of our equipment out at Patriots Park and had the staff there, and as people were coming in, the National Guard helped pick up people and bring them home for us. And really it was very streamlined, smooth operation because we are a prepared county.
Well, you were prepared because
Right.
that was evident in the money that you were able to get back from FEMA and GEMA.
Right.
The maximum amount that could have been
Right. More than any other
reimbursed.
county in the state. We got
Yep.
92% of the $10.1 million we spent.
We're getting a little bit short of time, Pam, but tell us about the cell phone registration that you have for people to receive emergency
Right.
notifications.
Yes, the sheriff's office and the EMA office can send out an alert, an emergency notification to the public by geocasting, geographic area. So let's just use, Rivershire, where I live, as an example. If something is happening inside Rivershire, let's just say that there's been a broken water main and the water's going to be out, we can map it in just for Rivershire, and then we can record a quick message and let them know that the water's out. And that's just an everyday type thing. But in a chemical spill, we can do the same thing. So in some cases, they're emergency, life-threatening. Some cases, it's a disaster for people not to have water, especially of children. So what we do is we make the phone call and let them know, well, if you have a landline, you're in the system, but if you have a cell phone, you're not in the system. You have to go in and register that. So on our website, we have a link that you click. It takes 2 minutes to put in your information and put your cell phone. And you can also put your email. We can email you as well in there so that you get those notifications. That's one of many ways that we have to disseminate warnings to people, and that's part of a big part of our job is to daily be on top of everything going on so we can issue those warnings.
Tell us a little bit about your staff. You got you got Rusty there, and you got
Yeah.
a couple of other really
Awesome.
important people.
They've been with me 15 years, Ron. So, 17 years, 15 and 15, 3 people. And with the county growing and more responsibility, they have to be good, and they are. Rusty Welch, Susie Hughes, just tremendous. And those in the community that work with us that are part of our volunteer teams and everything, they know that. They are a wonderful group.
Pam mentioned earlier that she handles a 311 system.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if everybody knows about it, but this is where you can call in anything pertaining to the county, whether it's a complaint, it's a pothole, it's whatever, and it'll be routed automatically to the right party.
Absolutely.
And so you can be assured it gets to the people that handles that kind of thing.
Right.
And that's, I remember when we did this, I think he went to Charlotte to look at their system. We were the first or second in Georgia to have.
Columbus beat us just by 2 months.
And, to have this system, and now it's getting more common throughout the state.
Yeah.
But it's you got 911 for the real emergencies, life-threatening, and then 311
for everything else.
for anything.
What do you want to
need.
know? Yeah. Good.
Just general questions
Right.
or something you want repaired or looked at.
Right. And that's part of the Emergency Operations Center. So day to day they do that, but when the emergencies happen and we activate, that becomes our call center so that they are feeding information to the room, where the experts are making the decisions.
Pam, think about what you'd like to have to say to wrap up, and let me cover a couple of things that we need to cover.
Okay.
We had a question from a citizen about why we don't have some restaurants along the river, Gary. And it's a real good question, but it's kind of I guess, a complex answer. In my thinking, it's several things. One is that the property along the river is primarily developed in zone residential, because people like to live on the river. To my knowledge, there's no commercial center in Columbia County that is directly on the river, except possibly a marina or something at the lake. And then, excuse me, that kind of thing takes some private development. We, of course, are not in the restaurant business and not in the development business, but we could encourage or work with anybody that had that desire. But it's mainly needs to be prompted from someone outside that's in the restaurant business or development to have a piece of land that could be rezoned if it didn't adversely affect the surrounding area, and would probably be a good thing. But to my knowledge, the only thing actually on the river in this region would be the boathouse that's in Richmond County, and years ago, the Good Ale Inn before it started to deteriorate. So it's a great thing to have, and a lot of counties that have rivers do have those facilities, but it doesn't seem to be, applicable hardly to the layout in Columbia County. Tell you too about a change of our schedule. After next week, we're going to go to midweek. We think that'd be better for people who are busy and a little more active on Fridays, trying to get ready for the weekend. So we'll be doing the Columbia County Connect on Wednesday mornings at 9:30. And that'll let us get some material earlier in the week, and then have people kind of digest it and see if they got additional questions or whatever during the rest of the week. Next week, we're going to have Mayor Bobby Culpepper from Harlem, along with the City Administrator Jason Risler, to talk about the new Harlem Library. Gary, you've seen a little bit of that since you've been in office, but those plans will go out for bid in a week or so. We hope to have those in about the middle of January. I think it'll be a real good development for Harlem to kind of aid their economic development in their downtown area. So we'll be talking about that next week. And then in January, we're going to start the year off with County Administrator Scott Johnson to tell us a little bit about his role, about the reorganization of the county structure, and pretty much just from his perspective how the county works. Pam, do you have any more questions or something you'd like to highlight before we close?
There's a few questions here that were sent. Mariah Meyer, I'll say her name.
Okay.
And they're very good questions, but they're probably questions that need to go to the sheriff's office. So I'll leave those with you, and maybe you can have a follow-up session where he can address these three.
We'll be glad if you'd like to get them addressed, and you can come back next week and do them first.
Okay.
Well, if you don't want to come back, that's all right.
I'll get with, I don't mind. I love it. I think talking to the community is important. I think it's wonderful that you're doing these weekly presentations. I think it's good. And of course, I'm available all the time if there's a question anybody has of me. They just need to email, call, or whatever. We're happy to help anybody get prepared.
And Pam is good with them Pamograms to let you know what's going on.
That's right.
And if you'd like to be on her email list or mailing list or whatever, just let her know, and I'm sure she'd be glad to add you.
I will.
It's very informative to be on Pam's list.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a lot of information.
Oh, you're on it?
I was when I was on Planning Commission, and
Okay.
then when I resigned, my Pamograms disappeared.
She don't talk to commissioners.
Well, you'll be back in it now.
Okay.
Gary, got anything to close with you this morning?
I think this is a good concept. I think the citizens, as more and more people realize that they're going on and that they can go back and look at previous sessions, I think it'll be very informative and can get a lot of questions answered. I think we got a good thing going here.
And a reminder one more time that, of course, this is on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I think, ladies, you can find it on the county website if you know where to go, or go to, PR, Columbia County GA.gov, as in public relations, PR,
Mhm.
and see these telecasts. And I guess we've got a calendar there that you can go back and see some of the previous ones. We're just new. We're doing new at this and working out the bugs. Very informal. If you have some questions you'd like answered, if you'd like some people you would like to see highlighted on the program, send that in. I'd be glad to schedule that. Pam, you got anything in closing?
Just thank you very much, and I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And we'll
And
see
stay
you.
safe.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again next week. Thank all of you for being here.
Thank you.